do, and hopefully, it's going to be the total package that I think it's going to be. Um, so, yeah, so I'm hoping to get this done. The book is called Almost Nothing, by the way. Somebody asked me that, like, why you keep talking about the book and you're not saying what the name of it is. The book is called Almost Nothing. And the reason it's called Almost Nothing is because at one point in my life, I believed that I was almost nothing. Based on, some traumatic things that happened, based on what I was told, based on the way that I lived, and the way that I believed that I was just almost nothing. And when you guys read the book, you'll see exactly how I come up with that perception, with that thought. It's all really based on, for the most part, trauma. Some things happen in people's lives that they don't really realize how a traumatic event can alter your perception about things. When you go through a traumatic event, even if you feel like it hasn't changed you, I believe even subtly, it changes your perspective about things. And you'll start to operate out of that subtle lens that has changed your perception about some stuff. So the point that I'm making is that, based on, some trauma and some other things that happened in my life, it created a perception where I behaved out of that lens. I operated from that traumatic experience. And so what I'm going to read tonight is the beginning, I believe. It's the beginning of, me gaining a certain way of looking at things. My perception, this traumatic event formed my way of thinking and formed my way of believing, and as a result, formed my way of living. There's some other things that's added on top of that, but for tonight's purpose only, I'm going to tell you about this event and how this shaped my thinking. The book is put together, and its intent is to show you the gradual shift in my thinking, the gradual shift in my thinking from one place to another, how it shifted, the events that happened to help shift that, help create that shift in my thinking, and which, kind of lead me to where I am today. The intent initially for writing the book is because I believed, and I still do, that men especially, when we go through things, when things happen in our life, we don't want to talk about it for a number of reasons. Traditionally, men don't express the way you feel. You just don't talk about it. Because of maybe somebody might judge you, or you feel ashamed, or you feel guilty, or any number of those things can happen where somebody doesn't share an experience that may have been traumatic, that may have caused them to have a different perception from what reality really is. And, men particularly, women too, but men particularly don't want to share it. They don't want to talk about it. And as a result, it leaves them stuck right there, and they don't necessarily grow emotionally or spiritually because they're stuck in that position. They operate out of that perception. So, as I said, my intent is to hopefully, if someone who's been experiencing something like that, because I was under the impression that it's just me. No one else is experiencing this traumatic shit but me. I'm the only one going through it. And I believed that for a long time. It was years of suffering that I found that there was a way out, So, I'm hoping that someone reads this book and possibly even use the same road that I took. Not necessarily all of the prison and all of that stuff, but, they use the help that I used in order to get through what it is that they're going through, and realize that you can have a life. You can change the quality of your life. There's a way to do that. And even if the person reading the book is not experiencing it themselves, maybe they know some people who are experiencing some trauma, man, some shit that, just keeps them stuck and causes them to behave in a way that's like fucking excuse the language, that's self-destructive. You know, when we're caught in a way that we think, a perception, we're locked in, the behavior that ensues is self-destructive. Be it drinking, be it drugs, and we know that alcohol is a drug, you know, crime, being promiscuous, all of those things are self-destructive when we're caught in the feeling or the perception that trauma leads us into. But there's a way to get out. So the reason why I'm starting with this passage is because, like I said, it's the beginning of where I believe, you know, my thinking was molded based on this event. And I got to tell you that not only this section or this portion of the book is graphic and detailed, there's so much more in this book that is graphic and detailed. I didn't set out to write a raunchy book. You know what I mean? I didn't set out to write an offending or nasty or, you know, offensive book. That wasn't my intent. But I do believe that, you know, this is my truth. And this is the way that I express myself. And I believe that the people who are reading it, you know, will understand, will get a clear picture of what I'm saying. So I had to be detailed in the telling of this story. So I'm hoping that you guys, are inspired to read it. So, you know, where I start from, you probably won't, you're obviously gonna be wondering what the backstory is, but I'm gonna leave that out. I'm gonna leave the backstory out so that you guys are more inclined to get the book and figure out how it got to me being at that particular place at that particular time. So, all right, so we're gonna get right to it. It's been about 8 minutes into this live. I'm not particularly sure how long the live is supposed to last. I've seen somebody on here for like an hour, you know what I mean? And I don't know if that's appropriate. I mean, you know, I'm not gonna keep you guys for an hour. But so I'm gonna start now. I'm hoping that everybody who wanted to join us is here. So I hope that music is not too loud. I'm gonna turn it down just another notch, and I hope you guys can hear me. I got this little mic thing on, and I hope you guys can hear me. All right, so I decided to go to bed and fell asleep almost immediately. I was awakened about an hour later by my nightly piss. It never failed. No matter how hard I tried to wake up to go to the bathroom, I could never do it. I always pissed in the bed. I tried everything from using the bathroom just before I went to bed to even sleeping in the bathroom, but nothing ever worked. I always woke up wet and pissy. However, I noticed that when I slept over a friend's house or a relative's house, I would be okay. I rarely pissed in their bed. I did sometimes, but I rarely pissed in their bed. But as soon as I got in my own bed, I would piss in no time flat. I took the soiled sheets off the bed and threw them into a plastic garbage bag along with my underwear. I went into the bathroom and stood there near the sink with a t-shirt and a piece of soap to wash myself off so that I could jump back onto the same pissy mattress in the same pissy spot and go back to sleep. I stood there washing myself while watching myself in the mirror, paying special attention to my genital area. I toyed around there with the soapy t-shirt until my penis was completely erect. Suddenly, the door flew open, hitting the wall with a thunderous boom, and Broomhilda fell through the entrance of the door. "Move out the way, boy, I gotta pee," she growled, scrambling to get to the toilet. Broomhilda sat on the toilet. She was grunting and farting. She stared at me with her piercing bloodshot eyes as I stood there covering myself with both hands in a wet, soapy t-shirt that doubled as a washcloth. I was half afraid that she saw what I was doing to myself and half confused as to why she would be barging into our bathroom at this time of the morning talking about she gotta pee. Broomhilda stood up, pulling up her filthy pink panties, displaying the wet brownish, yellowish stained crotch. Your mama got any more liquor around here? I looked everywhere. I can't find no more. Where is that? Broomhilda questioned, as Slobber slid down the corner of her mouth. Still stunned and unable to think of what to say, I shrugged my shoulders and turned to walk out of the bathroom. But in mid-step, Broomhilda grabbed my arm. What you was doing in here with your bad ass? She asked mischievously. Move your hands, boy, she ordered, snatching my hands away from my private parts. I tried to pull away from her, but she yanked me back in front of her with a hard smack to my head. Didn't I say move your goddamn hands, boy? Broomhilda yelled, as another cloudy stream of drool slid down her chin. My penis had shriveled up immediately, and tears began to flow from my eyes as I reluctantly moved my hands. Let me see what you got, she said in a throaty voice. She began to caress my genitals with her rough, ashy hands. Repulsed and extremely afraid, I began to cry audibly. Mama, Mama, Broomhilda's dirty fingernails dug into my testicles. If you don't shut your fucking mouth, she barked. I was quiet, but my tears flowed heavily. What's wrong with you? Why your thing won't get up? Broomhilda asked, obviously irritated. Broomhilda slid down on her knees and took my entire penis into her mouth. I was trembling with fear, thinking that she would bite off my penis and swallow it, and the doctors would have to operate to remove my testicles and penis from her stomach. I nearly fainted, grasping at something to hold on to so that I didn't hit the floor. Mama, I whimpered. Back up on her feet, looking frustrated, she snatched me by the hand and led me to the bedroom and practically threw me onto the bed. And if you make an bit of sound, I'm gonna whip your motherfucking ass, she whispered in an irritated tone. Broomhilda positioned herself in between my legs and picked up where she left off in the bathroom. She sucked, kissed, licked my genitals as I lay there with my eyes shut tightly, crying and wondering why she was doing this to me. She grabbed the base of my penis and began bobbing her head up and down slowly, moaning like she was sucking on a chicken bone with gravy on it. She made slurping noises and wet licking sounds. As scared and as confused as I was, I began to gradually become erect. I was baffled. None of this felt good to me. I was not enjoying this. My childish mind was racing 1,000 miles a minute. Once fully erect, Broomhilda pushed my legs together and straddled me. I opened my eyes slightly to see what she was doing. Broomhilda grinned a shit-eating grin, pulled her smelly housecoat over her head to get it off, slid her panties, her filthy panties to the side, and reached down between them to take hold of my penis. She shoved it into her, grunted, and began to thrust her lower body hard against my stomach, hurting me. It felt like I was being punched in the stomach, I thought. Broomhilda began to move her head from side to side as a thick, cloudy stream of saliva slid down her chin. I closed my eyes again tightly and pretended I was somewhere else, when suddenly she grabbed me by the back of the head and in one swoop had my head pressed tightly against her small, shriveled breast. Broomhilda began to breathe heavily. Her breath reeked of alcohol and what smelled like hot shit. She pounded herself against me harder and harder until her frail body began to shudder uncontrollably. She sank her long, sharp, dirty fingernails into my shoulders until I squealed in pain. Then she held my head upward with both hands. Slobber slid from her mouth down to her chin onto my face. I love you. I love you. Ooh, I love you. Before leaving, Broomhilda put a crumbled dollar bill in my hand and sternly warned, if you tell your mama, I will get that extension cord and tear your ass up. You hear me? I was confused and still shaking, nodding yes. As Broomhilda swayed through the door to leave, I jumped up and ran in the bathroom, practically dove into the dirty bathtub and turned on the water. I positioned my genitals right under the faucet and washed myself vigorously as the water flowed. Although I desperately wanted the smell and feel of Broomhilda off of me, all I could think of was her voice saying, I love you. I love you. Ooh, I love you. I shook my head violently to shake the words out of my head, but they played in my head over and over again. I wanted to tell my mother what happened, but I felt that since I was always getting into trouble and lying so much, she would never believe me. I figured it best to keep that nightmare to myself. Nearly every night, Broomhilda would find her way into my room, molesting me, raping me, and threatening to kill me if I ever said anything to anybody about what she was doing. I felt trapped. I'm hoping you guys did. There seemed to be some sort of warning there. Did you guys hear me, or did I? I'm hoping that you guys heard me. I seen a sign there. I'm going to continue to read, and if there's something missing, then I guess I may have to do it again. Okay. So, nearly every night, Broomhilda would find her way into my room, molesting me, raping me, and threatening to kill me if I ever said anything to anybody about what she was doing. I felt trapped, like I was stuck in a horrible nightmare, and I did not believe anyone cared that I was stuck there. I felt alone, scared, and hopeless. I felt like nothing. One night, while I lay awake in the bed thinking of how nice it would be to be a part of JJ's family, you know, the family on Good Times, the father James and mother Florida were always so attentive and loving to their children. Even when JJ messed up, they still showed him love. One night, soon after I heard the front door open in our apartment squeak open, before I knew it, the very tall and abnormally skinny Broomhilda stood in the entrance of my room, swaying from side to side, apparently drunker than usual. I pretended to be asleep, hoping that she would turn and wobble away, but experience has shown me that it was at those times when she was even more vile, brutal, and unrelenting. She crept towards my bed like a lioness stalks a calf. I could hear my heart beating hard against my chest, and I could almost smell her sour breath emitting a disgusting odor from her mouth. I could see her brown, yellow, and greenish, broken, sharp, mangled teeth, and feel her thick, hard, white, mucus-covered tongue trying to force its way into my mouth. "Mama," I began to whimper. "Mama, please help me." "Shut your mouth, you little black motherfucker," Broomhilda ordered. When I peeked through my eyelids, I could see Broomhilda reach in between her legs and pull out a bloody, heavy-looking miniature pillow. The smell that followed was so pungent and foul that I got an instant headache. My eyes began to burn, and I could taste the vomit coming from my stomach. She slung the bloody mess against the wall, simultaneously wrapped her skinny fingers around my throat, dug her dirty nails into my skin, and straddled my face. "Mama," I tried to yell, but the pressure of Broomhilda's hand around my throat, the suffocating, funky smell from her vagina, and the thick clots of blood that filled my mouth left me voiceless. After what seemed like hours of sliding and smearing funk and blood all over my face and head, her body began to convulse uncontrollably as she ground her crotch against my mouth and nose harder and harder. She held on tighter and tighter to my head, sinking her sharp nails into my skull. "Yes, yes," she moaned. Gradually, her hard, quick thrust became slow, methodic back and forth motions. "Yes, you little black motherfucker," she whispered. I love you so fucking much," as she collapsed on my head. Finally, rolling over to her on her side, she grabbed hold of my bloody, skinny, and stinking face to turn it towards her. "Look at me," she spat between clenched teeth. "You ain't shit. You ain't never gonna be shit. You better hope that big black funky dick of yours stay working, cause if it ever stop working, ain't nan bitch in the world gonna want your ugly ass. Plus you black and you dumb and you sneaky. You ain't shit. You almost nothing." Even at that tender age, I knew that this traumatic event would confuse my perspective about women, sex, and especially love. But more than anything else, I knew that I would spend a lifetime trying to forget everything Broomhilda ever said and done to me. So, that is a section of the book that I wanted to read to you guys. And the reason why I read that is because I wanted you guys to see the beginning of my mindset. That event shaped my thinking. It shaped my perspective about life and about people, about sex, about love. And I think that I bought into what her words were to me. And because I done so much I was a kid, man. I was 11 years old. So I did what kids did, man. Kids lie, and I lied. I mean, kids take their mama's cigarettes out their pack. I did that. That was kid shit. But she made me feel that it was some horrible things that I was doing, and made me feel like I was horrible. So, like I said, it shaped my perspective on life, and as a result of that, my behavior ensued, and it caused me a lot of grief in my life, a lot of suffering, a lot of hurt, a lot of pain, and I felt like for a long time that, without giving too much of the book away, I felt that it was my fault. Based on me being young and being a kid and doing mischievous things as a kid, I felt like it was my fault. Somehow I was responsible for the things that she did. And it wasn't until years later that I realized that it wasn't my fault. It wasn't my fault. So the hit here is that perhaps, whether man or woman or child that have experienced this kind of thing, you gotta know that it ain't your fault. You gotta know that there's nothing that you've done that warrants this kind of behavior, this kind of treachery. It's not your fault. It's not your fault. So, as the book go on, like I said from the beginning, you'll see, certain experiences that I had that shifted my thinking from that to something else. But it was a long, arduous road, I got to tell you. The road to getting here is an arduous road. As I said, the name of this book is called Almost Nothing. You'll see that my platform is called Almost Everything. The reason for that is, indicative of what I just expressed. I felt like I was almost nothing from that experience onto a whole bunch of years. But now I feel like I have almost everything. I feel like I'm almost everything. And I'm not talking monetarily, because, monetarily, there's really, really nothing. But the things that money can't buy, like a peace of mind, like gratitude, like self-love, self-respect. Those things are almost everything. Money can't buy that shit, And I think that, having experienced the opposite makes me so hold on to what I have now. Makes me appreciate, the peace of mind and the gratitude and the self-respect and the self-love, So anyway, I'm hoping that you guys dig the book. I hope to have had the book cover, but unfortunately the graphic designer guy was doing some other work, and he wasn't able to get it together for me. But it comes soon, in my Jamaican voice. It comes soon. Hopefully, if not by the end of August. I almost want to put a guarantee that it would be here by the end of September. I'm in published and ready to distribute. So I'm hoping that you guys get it. Again, it's called Almost Nothing, and I'm hoping that you guys like it. And if you haven't experienced some of these events or these experiences in your life, then maybe you know somebody who have, and then maybe you guys can go ahead and help some people out. So I'm going to try to read some of the stuff, or maybe you guys got some questions. I want to give a shout out to my editor, my girl, Kimmy G. Thank you for showing up, baby. I appreciate you. Someone says, so saying, I can't wait to read it. Thank you. And I can't wait to put it out there. I'm gonna travel around once it's published. I'm gonna be going to different bookstores and having book signings. I'm gonna travel throughout, the states to hope that you guys come out and support me, purchase the book, and get it signed. When I'm also gonna be having my T-shirts and stuff, trying to come up, hoping that you guys can also see that as well. So I can't see how long I've been on here, but I'm hoping that I came in and did what I was supposed to.